On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, why it's important that the Thunder are so well represented at the FIBA World Cup, the Thunder's preseason slate is underway, and what this team can look like after a very important summer.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. You can also text the show, 405-963-3686. On today's show, brought to you by FanDuel, let's dive into the FIBA World Cup. Is Shai the best player in the FIBA tournament? The hidden benefits of the Thunder being so well represented at this FIBA World Cup, plus the preseason schedule has released, and we'll discuss some of the depth on this team, which again, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel.com/LockedOn. The FanDuel Sportsbook is the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more by visiting FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Subscribe to Locked On Thunder anywhere you get your podcasts from, on YouTube and also on other podcasting platforms, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and we're here in the off season grinding it out. A special guest on tomorrow's podcast. Then, as you know, and I appreciate those of you that have already left your submissions, you will hear those on the show. So get your submissions in right now, if you haven't already, of what you think the best case scenario is for the Oklahoma City Thunder this season. If everything in the world went absolutely perfect, what would this season look like for Oklahoma City? You can do that on the YouTube comment section. You can do that on Twitter. You can also do that by texting 405-963-3686, where you can directly access the show with questions, comments. You can get news there and everything else. So check it out today, 405-963-3686, and also on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. So a lot to dive into today, starting with the preseason schedule, which has been released. And I think it's a fairly incredible schedule when you kind of break it down. So October 9th, basketball's back, and it doesn't feel that way right now, but I promise you that is right around the corner. At the end of September, we'll have media day, training camp will get underway, and then boom, it's time for Thunder basketball. So you got to think of like, hey, the FIBA exhibitions are starting this week. Team USA played, tonight. Shai in Canada and Dort and them play Wednesday. And this weekend, Josh Giddey plays next week. So this is all getting rolling here for FIBA. Then after FIBA, you have a couple weeks off. Football will be going on, and then boom, it's basketball season yet again. So it's coming up close. October 9th, the Thunder will be in the Paycom Center playing the San Antonio Spurs at 7 p.m. October 12th, they'll be in Montreal, Canada, playing the Detroit Pistons. October 15th, they'll be playing the Charlotte Hornets at 4 p.m. in Charlotte. And then October 17th in OKC against the Bucks. October 19th in Tulsa against the Pistons. And so, first and foremost, it's pretty cool that the Thunder are playing in Montreal, which is Lou Dort's hometown, and also, of course, the home country for Shai. And it kind of goes hand in hand, in my opinion, with the fact that the organization played the Adelaide 36ers last preseason, which was a nod, of course, to Josh Giddey, who played there whenever he was with the NBL prior to the NBA draft. So it's pretty cool that the Thunder have taken the time to craft this preseason schedule. I would imagine that teams have say in if they want to travel abroad or not for the preseason, and to do this in these kind of meaningful exhibitions. And then with the fans in Tulsa who rally around that preseason game every year and support that preseason game every year, you're going to get a good game against the Pistons. Like the Pistons in Tulsa, you're going to have Cade Cunningham, who of course went to Oklahoma State and Stillwater, around the Tulsa area, close for the Stillwater faithful. But also the Pistons have Cade Cunningham, they have Jaden Ivey, they have Azar Thompson, they have Duren, they have a fun team. Giannis might play on October 17th. And in the preseason in the NBA, guys actually play. It's not like in football. Like they play, and they play like 20 plus minutes, which is not nothing in the NBA. But the biggest thing here, as long as everybody's healthy and as long as the Spurs aren't doing anything weird with the preseason of who plays, who doesn't, getting Victor versus Chet, I think is a bit of a statement from the NBA of trying to manufacture, trying to craft this natural newest rivalry. Before December 1st, the Thunder will have seen Victor come to town to play Chet twice, at least, because they're going to play in that in-season tournament at home in the Paycom Center in November. The exact date is not yet known, but we know it'll be in November. And then they're going to play this preseason game October 9th against the Spurs, which I imagine will also be the Spurs preseason opener, if not close to it. And it's going to be highlighted on, Victor versus Chet. So getting that force fed with the natural, the national media thinks that they're kind of similar players. The fan bases are obviously going to go at it about who the better player ends up being. And just the fact that you have two very big egos, very big, confident players and basketball junkies and guys like that. Like, it's going to be fun to get that right off the bat. And again, to get two of those matchups prior to December 1st that just really jumpstart this possible rivalry. And so when you're handcrafting a preseason schedule, the fact that we can rattle off these interesting games is great for the fans. And like that Spurs game is in Paycom Center. So I imagine that preseason games, I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine preseason games are included in your season ticket package, or at least you get like a healthy, benefit for buying preseason game tickets with your season tickets. So like you get the possibility of your season tickets, including a preseason Victor game. And let me tell you, Victor's the type of player. Chet's the type of player. Like the fact that we haven't seen Chet play in the NBA yet, like that's the type of game to where Victor plays in it and Chet plays in it. And that's his first action on an actualized NBA court. Of course, he's played in Summer League twice, but like it's an actualized NBA court and like a more real life regular season game. That's his first taste of it. If Victor breathes this year, it's going to be headline news. That will be and feel like something big, even though it's just preseason. Playing in Montreal, the storylines from that. I imagine that the great content team over there with Nick Gallo and Paris Lawson and everyone else over there, Matt Tumbleson and everyone that does helps out with the Thunder films and stuff, Dan Mahoney, guys like that. Like I imagine there's going to be some great content out of that game in Montreal, because Lou Dort even had a video that the team put together where he was like talking about how excited he is to kind of show the guys around Montreal. And so, going to his favorite X spot or whatever will be a fun little video. I'm sure they can put together. Like stuff like that will be fun for the preseason. So ultimately, this is going to be an awesome experience for fans, for the team, and just give you that taste of what it's going to be like. And to put a cherry on top, this roster sits at 21 players. And so there's going to be roster battles and like into the roster battles that you have proven as fans to care about. Like you guys, and the numbers on roster projections and questions about the roster, you guys have proven to care about that stuff. So like that will start to take shape in front of your eyes here starting on October 9th. And of course, before that in training camp and any, reports we get from practice and talking to coach after practice and things like that. But the preseason schedule, as far as it lines up, you get to play Victor, you get to play a young team in the Pistons twice, the Hornets, and then, the possibility of what the Bucks will be. The Bucks are one of those teams where, they might be a team that like doesn't play a lot of guys or doesn't play them a lot of minutes. Giannis might not play, but if he does, and if they do play, it'll be a fun little litmus test for like 20 minutes before things turn preseason-y. Coming up, let's talk about the Thunder playing in the FIBA World Cup, how well represented they are, what the benefits of that are for OKC. But first, I want to say right now, but our good friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is awesome. FanDuel is where you want to be because football season is just about to kick off. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long, including right now. Even though we're not yet at games, you can bet on who you think will be the Super Bowl winner. And the thing is, you don't have to bet on that and then wait for the Super Bowl because you get bonus bets every time that team wins a regular season game. So if you think that the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl, you bet them to win the Super Bowl, and then every time that the Chiefs win a regular season game, boom, you get bonus bets. It is a fun way to couple a long-term bet with short-term gain and long-term gain if you can correctly predict the Super Bowl winner. So you just pick the team you want to win the Super Bowl, and then boom, you get bonus bets back for every single victory. And then from there, you can also bet on the normal stuff, spreads, player props, over-unders, and everything else that is happening at FanDuel. So that's how great FanDuel is. And you can get that perk by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started, but for owning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Folks, the Thunder are incredibly represented at the FIBA World Cup tournament, and we're going to cover it all starting this week, obviously, with Team Canada playing on Wednesday. So we'll cover it all here on Locked On Thunder. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast feed that you listen to, follow on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. And the Thunder have Shai and Lou on Team Canada. They have Jack White and Josh Giddey on Team Australia, which Team Australia has not cut down their roster to the extent that they need to for tournament play, for group play. But I imagine that Jack White will make the team. Obviously, Josh Giddey will. And then obviously Shai and Lou will make the team for Team Canada. And then J-Dub and Chet have also been playing in FIBA to an extent on Team USA Select, which they've been scrimmaging and practicing with the actual Team USA leading up to this point to get Team USA ready for scrimmages and for exhibitions and for now the tournament whenever it starts at the end of this month. So let's just go through some notes here, and then let's talk about a debate that's happening right now around the FIBA world. So as I mentioned, let's start with the Team USA guys. J-Dub has looked really good in these scrimmages. So Team USA Select beat the regular Team USA twice on, Friday in 2 10-minute scrimmages. They beat them twice. And in those scrimmages, J-Dub looked really good. The size that he put on, the way he's using that size to his advantage, but keeping that same pacing about himself that he had last year. His effectiveness is still there, and efficiency is still there. J-Dub just looks so good on the court. He looks so good on the court, and he is playing the way you would expect him to play. And that type of consistency is pretty astonishing. I know that he's an older rookie, especially by modern standards, but the fact that in every environment he's been in, Santa Clara, to the Thunder, to the different variations of the lineups and teammates he's played with for the Thunder his rookie year, to the stage in Vegas against Team USA, the fact that his game stays the same and stays consistent, and he never tries to do too much, never tries to play outside of himself, never tries to reinvent the wheel, but he's able to play his way of basketball. That to me is why he has such a bright future, is that he can play his game independent of what you do. He can play his style of basketball no matter who he's playing with. Star-studded Team Select team with a lot of young risers, or who he's playing against, which I know Team USA does not have our best guys out there. One thing that they do have, though, is a lot of quality defenders. Like, I love Bridges' defense. Love Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defense, Defensive Player of the Year. Like, they have these guys out there. And J-Dub was still able to play his type of game. And so I think that just continues to prove how repeatable his game is. And so it's easy to say that when he's dominating as a rookie. And just to lean on that crutch that I've been leaning on all year. Like, hey, this is repeatable stuff. Then you see him in Team USA. And, he's playing for different coaches. He's playing in a different environment with different teammates. He's playing against different players, and he's on the different end of a spectrum in this sense, where he's the practice player and not a Team USA player. And that doesn't matter. He still plays the same way, same attitude, same efficiency, same style. And so that's why I don't really worry about him regressing from his rookie year, which was a fantastic rookie year, because while it was great production and while it was pretty, alarming production as a rookie to impact the game at such a high level in terms of wins for OKC, none of it was fake. None of it felt fraudulent. None of it felt like, well, the NBA teams can adjust to this, or, well, he got hot at the right time and, he'll never be able to rekindle the stretch of games where he hit 15,000 threes. All of it feels pretty repeatable, and you saw that at Team USA Select this past weekend. For Chet Holmgren, he showed flashes. He's still kind of learning his spots, and there were some turnover issues there, but I don't mind that. Like I don't mind his turnovers, because this is the moment to make them. This is where you want to see him test his limits and explore what he can do whenever there's no consequence. Like in Summer League, there's no consequence. Win, lose, or draw, it does not matter. Team USA Select, doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if he turns the ball over 1 billion times or if he turns it over 0 times. You'd rather see him be explorative of his game in this setting and against these players and in this low leverage type of environment than anywhere else. And it's going to take time. And that's why I say that, like, the Thunder are going to be better this year, but it's also going to take some development of, like, they're going to have to let Chet cook sometimes, and that's going to look really, really good. It's also going to look like a few turnovers in a row. Like, you're going to see both ends of that this year. So I just would not worry about it too much. But beating Team USA was interesting. Was interesting in those scrimmages. They're playing off of Cade Cunningham, who is by far dominating Team USA right now in practice and getting them prepared. And he's been the talk and the toast of the town in Vegas. Cade Cunningham has. But what play style does Cade Cunningham have and possess? And who does he get compared to a lot? Guys that J-Dub and Chet, a guy that J-Dub and Chet are going to play off of every single night is who Cade Cunningham gets compared to a lot. And this goes not only for the Team USA guys, but for everyone, to a T, as if it's rehearsed. Everyone who touches FIBA basketball and Olympic basketball for their countries and Team USA specifically talk about how valuable of an experience that is. With Team USA, to be around so many NBA guys, even last year, and I should say this year, SGA was telling us, like, whenever we'd ask him about his defensive turnaround and about his improvement of his game defensively and offensively this year, he highlighted more than once that, like, he felt like playing in the Team Canada qualifiers last summer was what propelled him to have such a good year this year. So this stuff actually does matter. And we have a proven track record of it mattering for players and for development. Now, shifting into other areas of the FIBA and why it matters, Jack White playing in competitive environments where he's playing against NBA players for Team Australia. It's going to be a great thing to observe as a guy who's on the roster bubble. I think also Josh Giddey getting to be the man, getting to run an offense, getting to organize a team, getting to be the guy. That's an area of development that he's going to be equipped with this summer. He's the guy on that Team Australia team. It's a good team over there too. But he's the one that's going to be in charge. And putting him in that position to learn and grow in is going to, I think, allow him to take a step and be better equipped for if that ever needs to happen in the NBA. And not even talking like, if he ever gets his own team in the NBA. I'm saying, like, we know how the NBA works. It's 82 games, and most of the time, guys don't play 82 games. So there's going to be points where, hey, we need you, Josh. Tonight, we need you to, be the guy. And so getting that time right now in FIBA doing it will be pretty interesting to kind of for him to take it and learn with it and run with it. Shai, of course, is leading Team Canada as well, which is going to be fun to see those two guys lead their respective countries and teams. But with Team Canada, I also want to highlight Lu Dort. Okay, we've been giving Lu Dort a pass, and I'm probably the most guilty of it, of anyone in Thunder media, of like giving Lu Dort a pass of, this is a guy who is struggling offensively, but it's a product of, he's one of the only players who would be aggressive, one of the only players besides Shai who would go get his shot and go be aggressive toward the rim. And so it led to some bad shots. It led to some inefficiencies. It led to some bad play offensively, but he's not a bad offensive player. And I've been saying that. And I've been saying, like, you put Dort around more talented offensive players and he's going to look more efficient, because what has he done his whole career? He shot corner threes really well as a career 3-point shooter, as a career offensive player. And so I've been saying that, but eventually the chickens have got to come home to roost. Eventually that's got to end up being true on the court. And while this is not going to be some make or break thing or some just, do or die, throw the baby out with the bathwater type of experience for Lu Dort, it is going to be something that I'm keeping a close eye on of, okay, Team Canada, in my opinion, is the most talented team in the field. Team Canada, in my opinion, should win the gold. Team Canada should have the pieces. So then Lu Dort is not going to be one of their most aggressive offensive players. He's not going to be a player who has to be put in a position that does not put him at an advantage. He should be able to limit his offensive role and just play great defense, which is an area I think he can thrive in. He's been terrible at the rim in his career, and he'd admit that. He was in the bottom 6 percentile at the rim last year. One thing he's been consistent on, though, his rookie year, he shot 31% from three in the corner. Okay, that was bad. He's bad all the way around from three in his rookie year. We all know the rookie year struggles. Let's not forget, as young as Lu Dort still feels, back then, he never got to practice with the team. Like, he could not spend days with the team because of the two-way contract restrictions back then. But anyway, his second year in the league, he shot 46% from corner threes. His third year in the league, he shot 44% on corner threes. Last year, even, as everyone is panicking and giving up on Lu Dort's offensive ability, he shot 40% from three in the corner. So he does have a role that he can achieve. And ideally, you put him in a role where he is just a drive and kick weapon for SGA and for this Thunder team in the corner. And he benefits from that, and he can look efficient in that. Plus, he's playing such great defense that he can have a really good offensive role. Now, I've been making that case for Lu Dort this entire time, and we have not seen it show up yet in the NBA. And it should show up this year with the talent that the Thunder roster has on it right now. But it also should show up for Team Canada, in this week, as they start playing. So I am watching that heavily for Lu Dort. And then you get some cool videos also of Shai in practice, just like you got of the Team USA guys in practice, where he beat RJ Barrett in a shooting competition bank, and had a lot of fun there. He had some great shoes on with like the Canadian flag on his shoe and like a maple leaf. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a maple leaf on the tongue of his shoe, which is really, really cool. But you've probably already seen the pictures of that. Now, coming up, is Shai better than Luka? Is he the best player in the FIBA World Cup tournament? We'll talk about that coming up. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. I'm Rylan Stiles. You can find me at Rylan_Stiles on Twitter or X if you prefer. You can also find me on thundersintentions.com, and of course, right here every morning on Locked On Thunder. Is Shai better than Luka? Now, look, this is all brought up because Tim Bontemps of ESPN went on SportsCenter and said that Shai's the best player in FIBA, then doubled down and went on the Hoop Collective and said that Shai is better than Luka and the best player in the FIBA field. Look, I still lean Luka. I think most people still lean Luka. And I think that Tim got a little carried away and kind of got put in a position where he said, like, hey, Shai's the best player in the tournament. And then he gets called out and he kind of tries to double down and try to spin his way out of it, and couldn't do it because, it's Luka versus Shai, and like it's a really close race, but I think you still take Luka. The bottom line here is, though, to me, doesn't matter. Like Shai's a first team All NBA guy. Shai's an MVP caliber guy. Shai's a 31 point per game scorer. The fact that this was even brought to the airwaves on the Hoop Collective with Brian Windhorst and McMahon and Bomb Thames and on Sports Center, and like is a debate, and it's something that has gotten people riled up on Twitter and has gotten people engaged on social media and has been a debate. The fact that this is even a debate, no matter who you want to take, Shai or Luka, don't care. You can argue Shai because of the defense. We can have this debate if you want to on a whole pod. Okay. You can argue that Shai was better than Luka last year, which is what Bomb Thames is going to be, which Bomb Thames done in the Hoop Collective. Put that all to the side right now. Put your opinion on this debate to the side. This should be the biggest wake-up call of the caliber of player that the Thunder once again have, is the fact that Shai is even being discussed with Luka. And I say that because it's right. Shai isn't that conversation. Shai is on Luka's tier. Shai is one of these type of players. But the fact that the Thunder have another one of these type of players is just so impressive. And it's something that you cannot take for granted. And I feel like some Thunder fans, and not in a negative way, not in like a purposeful way, but it's hard to convey if you just started following the NBA in 2008, which many of you did, and that's perfectly fine. If you just started following basketball in 2008, this feels like, oh, this is what happens in the NBA. You acquire all-time great Hall of Fame talent. Sometimes you lose them. Then you just get more. Then you just acquire more. If you brought the Thunder's resume of how many all-time greats have played here, how many future Hall of Famers have played here, and what they've accomplished here, even without winning a championship, even only getting to one NBA Finals, if you brought that list of accomplishments just since 2008, and you compared it to other franchises who have been around for much longer than 2008, you would take the Thunder's track record and all-time greats and experiences over said long-standing franchise. And they're one of the most winningest, organizations since their inception, especially before, after the Chris Paul year, but even still, they're up there. And the fact that you once again have another one, it's tough to keep telling you that it's not going to always happen, because every time that like something happens to lose one of these guys, you get one right back. But like, it's just amazing how you've played way more seasons with one of these, MVP caliber players than you ever have without one in Oklahoma City. And so whether you think he's better than Luka or not, there's no denying that they're on the same plane. There's no denying that they're on the same tier. There's no denying that they're at the same table. Who's sitting on the right, who's sitting on the left doesn't matter. They're at the same table. And this is a rightful debate. And Shai has an argument, and a pretty dang good one, when you factor in the defense. But I'm not here to get into that kind of arbitrary who's better thing. I'm just saying that the fact that they're here, the fact that Shai's here, is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And the journey of this franchise is pretty cool. I want to end by discussing just quickly, Chet Holmgren has done the podcast tours. By the way, he can come on the Locked On Thunder podcast anytime he wants to. And he's on All the Smoke, and he was talking about how, any night someone can just step up for the Thunder. And I just wanted to list these out. And so you have 2 homework assignments on the YouTube comment sections and also on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Number 1, leave your best case scenario for the Thunders. Everything goes the Thunder's way. What's the result for the Thunder this year? Leave that, but also leave this. Got me thinking, like the depth is insane. And Chet's right when he praises the depth on this team. You've got the starters, which is already 5 players, obviously. Shai, Josh, Dort, J-Dub, Chet. That's already 5 players. But then you've got Midget, Cason Wallace, Kenrich Williams, who was phenomenal and was a big part of why the Thunder struggled a bit down the stretch after he got hurt. Like if he never gets hurt, last season's even better than what it finished up as. Like Kenrich is a big deal in all of this. You have Isaiah Joe, another big deal in all of this. J. Will, the starting center from last year's team. You have Aaron Wiggins, who makes some unbelievable winning plays. Ousmane Dieng, who has a great ceiling. Poku. Keontae Johnson, who showed a lot of good flashes in the Summer League. Trey Mann, that was Bertans, and then you have, the Jerry, Jack White, Garuba, Tai, whoever makes the team out of all that group and all that stuff at the bottom. But nonetheless, when you mix in those 5 guys that are going to start with Mitchich, Wallace, Kenrich, Joe, J. Will, Wiggins, Dieng, Poku, Johnson, Man, like when you Bertans, like when you mix all that together, I once again just say it's going to be hard, A, to iron out that rotation, which is why they're going to run 10 to 12 guys again every single night. And B, it's going to be hard to find a game where the Thunder just don't have a punch back, and they don't have a counter, they have a comeback in them. Because you're going to be able to rifle through and find, 8 to 9 guys a night who are feeling it and who are playing good. Now, you might have a night where like 5 guys aren't playing good. The problem is, okay, take those 5 guys out and put the other guys in. And I promise you around the line or along the line, someone is going to, someone's going to playing good and help you in games. So the depth truly is ridiculous. So your second homework assignment is list me your 10 best players, and you've got to include the starting 5. So you've already gotten 5 spots taken away. Who are the next 5 up? The starting 5. So list me 6 through 10. I want to know from you, what do you got on the depth of this team? And I think that as you go through the responses, there's going to be some debates because there's a lot of guys to get this list. So you can be 5 more guys past the starters, and you're leaving somebody pretty important out, which just shows how deep this team is. So until tomorrow with a special guest, be good and be good to one another.